This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development companies who are struggling with predictable lead flow, breaking out beyond their network, and a sniper approach to attracting the ideal clients so they can have a smoother sales process, finally have scalability, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because business has fundamentally changed since the pandemic and now the disruption of AI. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead generation, leading to a packed pipeline that creates sustainable revenue and year-over-year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the wonderful and talented Kathy Steele. Kathy, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
Thank you, Lisanne. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Guys, I am really, really excited for this conversation. And Kathy and I had an opportunity to speak not too long ago, and I was just so impressed with she is like data and results minded, but she is also like people and human centric. So she's got the best of both worlds in terms of like her approach. And so I'm really excited to dive into her story with her. But before I do, I want to take a moment to introduce her a little bit more formally so you can get a feel for the powerhouse that I have in front of me today.
Wow.
So Kathy Steele doesn't just talk about growth. She's built her career on helping companies figure out why they're stuck and what to do about it. As CEO of Red Caffeine, Kathy works with mid-market companies to turn ambition into action, building strategies that drive revenue, strengthen brands, and increase business value beyond the balance sheet. From aligning sales and marketing to launching new offerings and leveraging AI to scale performance, her work sits at the intersection of strategy and execution. She's helped companies navigate everything from "we've plateaued" to "we're ready to scale," guiding leadership teams through the messy middle of growth with clarity, structure, and a little push when they need it most. Her team is known for building systems that actually work, not just strategies that look good on paper. With more than 30 years of experience, Kathy brings a real-world perspective and a few battle scars to every stage. She's been featured in the Inc. 5000 Conference, Women in Manufacturing Summit, and industry association events across the country. She will be on fire for us today. I'm so excited to have her and talk about the momentum that she's creating with the companies that she's working with. So again, guys, wherever you are listening in from, give a huge round of applause to Kathy. Again, Kathy, welcome to the Marketing Matrix.
All right. I'm ready.
I love it. Okay. So from your own words, I would love for you to share a little bit of your backstory. How did Red Caffeine become a thing? Is this like a corporate and jumping out of corporate into a personal thing? Have you always done your own thing? Is this you've been working on this your whole life, or it's a later in life thing? Like, give us the backstory.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it has been an evolution. So I started my uh career in this area working internally for a packaging design company, way before we had a lot of the digital tools that we have today. So I was a designer and brand marketer. I went from that organization to a travel company, which was really hard to leave because if you know me, I love to travel. I had found an opportunity to start doing some freelancing projects as a graphic designer. I was getting some intros, and I just loved working with leaders that on their branding initiatives. And so my first business was a boutique branding firm, and then I evolved into running a marketing and technology company in tandem with a partner, and that led to really, really embracing technology. We were, in the earliest days of the internet, so building those first websites. We got into a lot of software development and application development. So we built a lot of really cool products in those days. And then um, following a business divorce, so my partner and I decided to part ways. Um, in not the most amiable way, and that was really when I pivoted and founded Red Caffeine in 2013. So
I
that's
love.
a bit about little, work in the hospitality industry, restaurant business earlier in my career, but that's been the trajectory of my business evolution.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So you're kind of like an aesthetic first in terms of like your background and training is like with graphic design is like primarily like on like the aesthetic side.
Yeah, I mean, definitely love visualization and creative concepts and the big ideas. That's, I think I used to joke that I have had so many goofy headlines and yeah. So, but I think early in my career, I also got the opportunity to work on some really interesting startup brands, a DIY brand that we brought to market around like wire and jewelry making that got sold to one of the biggest players in the marketplace. So I had some really unique career opportunities in my earlier career too, just even within my freelancing business around the branding and then go to market of those different brands. So that was exciting learning opportunity in my earlier career too.
So is Red Caffeine, is it like I love like that positioning of like, let us help you get unstuck. Is that from a majority of branding perspective still, or like is it more of go-to-market strategies or
It's way more on the go-to-market strategy. I mean, branding still at the core has a place in our offering, but really understanding a business's, where they're at in their growth journey, and then really understanding the marketplace they play in, who their customers are, what their culture is like, what really differentiates them from other
Mhm.
players in the space. So really deeply understanding, the opportunities that they have for growth is where we start. And then we build a go-to-market plan, or we call it a grow-to-market plan to execute that growth initiatives. Branding is always a component. Typically, most of the organizations that we're working with do need some foundational tweaking to the brand that they have currently. We predominantly work in the business to business B2B space with mid market organizations that are established. So, think about like maybe 20 million to like 500 million in revenues. That's typical client size for us. So they've been in market. It's not their first at bat, but they've usually reached some type of growth plateau. And then we're helping them expand beyond where they are currently.
That's cool. And does that typically come with making current products and operations more efficient, or is it like adding a new business line? Like how,
Yes,
or
yes,
maybe
yes,
it's
yes.
different.
Yeah, I know it's all of the above. I think once we've had an opportunity to understand where the client's at and maybe understand the vision for their future growth, which is surprising that not all businesses really have sort of that established vision that they're aiming for. So a lot of times, our early work is about helping them imagine what their potential could be, and then, unpacking some of the barriers to reaching that potential. And then there will be things that have implication on their people, their processes, what tools they're using, what technologies are in their business technology stack, all of those pieces and parts. But ultimately, we think about operationalizing go to market. So, really creating revenue generation systems that scale. And that's really the way we would approach even some of the talent strategies that we're working on. If we're working with an organization that has been facing workforce and hiring and retention challenges, we'd be taking a very similar approach to trying to create a systems base to their internal and external talent strategy.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And then are you primarily working in like the industry of manufacturing still, or is it wider?
We have we really are not in any one particular niche, but we do have a strong portfolio of experiences within the manufacturing, distribution, industrial space. In the more recent years, we've done a lot more on the professional services side. So it really depends on where the market opportunities are for us. Our grow to market methodology really spans any type of business.
Yeah.
It's really about, is there opportunity for that organization? How do we, um, capitalize on where they're at now and then parlay that into some future opportunities and grow.
That's exciting. So where are you currently seeing market opportunities, like for Red Caffeine specifically right
I
now?
think, some of the hotter markets, manufacturing, I would have to say in the maybe the last 18 months, as you might imagine, with tariffs on some of the global market conditions, more macroeconomics, and our customer base being a little bit of, the not, I mean, still work on the low end of the middle market, but we have many of our clients are sort of mid market. They are facing a lot of different challenges. So our current client base is really growing in manufacturing, but our newer opportunities, we've seen a lot of opportunity in construction services, professional services, technology. Those have been the types of clients that we've been working with most recently. But our clients tend to hire us and stay. So we have a long, retention
Mhm.
with our client base. And I would say that, in that capacity, there's still a pretty good mix of manufacturing and distribution clients alongside with more of these professional services and
Yeah.
construction services.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. I love that your clients stay with you for a while. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun. I think it does get, first of all, we don't like to take clients that really compete with each other. We feel that we can't always put a differentiated market plan in place if all of our clients are doing the same thing. That's a really challenging approach. I know a lot of agencies do have that kind of core focus on an industry vertical. We feel like I said, our methodology really has applications in any industry vertical. And I think that gives our employees too, like different and fun things to sort of sink their strategic minds into that, we're not working in the
Yeah.
same verticals. But the cool thing is you always have learnings from one marketplace that you can bring to another marketplace. And I think
See?
that ability to work across a lot of different sectors. So some of our manufacturing clients are selling to some of our other industrial clients, or are hiring professional services organizations that we would be working with. So we're really getting into the minds of the buyers, both you know, from our client perspective, but that kind of wider industry perspective as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. There's something that you mentioned when you were talking about your intro that struck a memory with a conversation that I had yesterday, and I would love your thoughts on it. So
Sure.
I was talking to a friend yesterday about how, I mean, the buzzword right now is AI, right? Everything is AI. But I feel like we're in the days now with AI that are very, very similar. I didn't necessarily own a business at this point, but you brought it up in terms of like the early days of the internet, right? Designing websites and things like that. And in the early days, I'm sure you would go to a business and have experiences where you were like, like you really should have a website. And I think a lot of business owners were like, no.
My customers don't. I mean, I feel like I've heard that up until like 8 years ago. I mean, that my customers aren't buying online. Have you heard of Amazon? I don't know.
I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So get to your question,
I
but
love it.
yes.
Okay, so I love you. You identify with it. I feel like AI is very similar. Like like a lot of businesses have like one of two responses to AI. Their response is like, it's too early, or I don't need it, or it's scary, or like we're just gonna like put our head in the sand like an ostrich and like wait to see what happens. Or their response is like, I'm using it, but they're really just using it as like a very smart chatbot. They're not like actually like integrating AI into their systems in a deep level. And so like it's a little like, and the reason why I'm comparing it to the website situation is like especially in the early days of the internet. I love how you say like people are still saying that, but especially in the early days of the internet, like there was just no concept of like, why would I want to expand beyond Main Street? If they're like, well, my store is on a busy road, I have an article, I have a posting in the yellow pages, like why would I even need a website? I feel like the attitude towards AI, like especially as I'm talking to businesses, because I'm very, very trying to be very AI forward with the majority of the services that I offer. And so I'm very curious from your perspective, like, because you brought up AI in your bio, like, how are you using AI? How is that being received by these businesses, especially ones that are bigger, right? So like implementing an AI solution can be expensive at first, right? So yeah, I would love to hear like your thoughts on like
Yeah.
how people are using, integrating, accepting, rejecting AI?
Well, I think we're seeing across the board differences. So I probably like you have done a lot of speaking engagements on AI over the last 3 years as it's really become more accessible for, day-to-day use. And we're seeing adoption at such varying levels, and it does not seem to be dependent on your revenues. It just is kind of like the Wild West, in my view. It is really, there's a lot of people using these tools, but they're using them individually. And even though organizations that have maybe established sort of a tool set that they're condoning and allowing to be used within their organization, that leaders are not thinking about AI enterprise wide. And I think that is going to need to be a shift that's going to have to happen. I also even feel like when we're talking to clients and prospects, there's not even truly an AI roadmap or strategy being considered and or even being funded within their organization. So I do believe we're going to see a lot more focus on trying to use these enablement strategies across the total ops uh, ecosystem in a more enterprise way. But I'm not seeing many organizations there yet. There still
Interesting.
seems to be a lot of like, there's a few AI champions within an organization. They may be using AI embedded in the tools that they're already using, like video technology and note taking tools and things like that, but they're not really using it to create this more agentic approach to workforce. And my view is if you're not starting to think about those things, or you're not at least using some of these tools and technologies in your business currently, you're already way behind. I mean, there's just so much rapid adoption of these tools. I think it can be a very dangerous proposition if you're not thinking about how to do this enterprise
Mm.
wide.
And so that's super interesting. And I love how you put it. Are you with either your prospective clients or your current clients? Are you like trying to push that methodology, or is it kind of more of a waiting to see what organization is waking up to the need for it, and then you're like, yes, we can help with that? Or are you like, you need this, like wake up, pay attention?
Yeah, I mean, so we've been doing a lot of AI training, and yes, we have been, especially around RevOps, been building certain AI interfaces or AI agents within their workflows. So we're definitely doing the work already. But I think that our next phase is really about really thinking about how does this come, life as like an AI as a service offering within our RevOps offering. So to me, because it's like anything that's new, there's so much opportunity and people just don't even know how to get started. That starting with some of the things that are going to drive revenue, for me, that's a really important place to think about first. And then as you're building some automations and AI workflows, then you're able to, kind of scale that across your business. So maybe bringing it into your AR or your HR function or operations. There is a lot of opportunity in the manufacturing sector for bringing it onto the shop floor. So I think it will get, embedded across all of the business functions at some point for most organizations. But to me, I think the opportunity lies in helping an organization see some good use cases, more simple use cases, get the team comfortable with using these tools, and then start to scale it in a more broader way
Mm.
or scale it in other departments in your
Yeah.
organization.
I love that. Can you share some specific examples of like some of like the solutions where you feel like these enterprise clients should start first for to have it to them to actually see an ROI early with the AI adoption?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential just in being ready for sales conversations. So I think the low lift is using some of the technologies that you're using already and using some of the AI embedded in those tools. So that's always a great place to start. Research in some of the tools for customer insights, market insights, some of those things. So as you're prepping for sales conversations, those can be really value add for sales teams, automating workflows and things with sort of agentic, kind of different automations. Currently, we're building for our own business, we're building a proposal builder so that we'll have like full scale automation to building proposals, and then we're adding an AI layer to help automate some of the processes that are really administrative, like getting estimates really, really sort of across, like using estimation in terms of using other past estimates to really create,
Mm.
just better estimating process, or redlining our contracts and using an agent to help through the contractual process, but using automation and that sequence as well. The other place I think it has great potential is in like conversational AI interfaces for tools that already exist. So we have we built a number of custom software applications for like configuring products. Like, so if you think about a manufacturer that has a product configuration tool on or technology on their website, instead of it being sort of a choice of a bunch of different features to kind of create that product, you could use prompting to be able to ask that configurator to help you generate a couple options of the
Huh.
right product configurations. So I think that there's going to be a lot in like customer experience that can leverage just the ease of AI prompting in the early engagement cycles for customer service and customer experience.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, those are some really, really powerful use cases for sure. And I think one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of the companies that I've spoken to is I think so many workflows have just become like, what's the word I want to use? Like almost like it's just second nature, or it is what it is. So to like automate it or agentify it for lack of a better word, it's almost like why would I? Because like it's working, you know? And so it's for me, sometimes it's been difficult to communicate to businesses. Like there's so much efficiency, time, and I love
Right,
that you even said like the layer of AI to make your process even smarter. You know, even if your process isn't broken, like adding that AI level to add increased insights or to take memory from past quotes and estimates, like you
right.
mentioned, right? To
Yeah.
to make sure that everything is the way that it needs to be. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see how because I think just like a website has become second nature for most companies. I think that AI native stacks and automations and stuff will also it'll be the same.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe we're going to see a big disruption in the SaaS space around being able to, I'm a big fan of using some of the readily available large language models, but I'm also a fan of privatized LLMs so that you're building something that really works for your business and is keeping your data super secure, your IP secure. I feel like that is the area that I see our business have the most potential. We've been doing a lot of software and integration work all throughout the life cycle of, the last 20 years of our business. So I think that that's the coolest opportunity and the applications and spaces where workforce challenges, so hiring and finding talent. So some of these spaces where access to workforce has been super challenging. AI will allow us to have scale without always having,
Mhm,
a human component to it.
mhm.
So to me, that's where the real exciting part is going to happen. But I don't think most organizations are ready for that level of thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm advocating for like smaller initiatives, doing smaller projects and getting people comfortable with using the tools in combinations with other people in their organization versus just using the tool
Mhm,
independently themselves to write an introductory email or something like that. I don't see that to be the scalable element of AI. I think it's going to be way more about transformation of how we do our work is where we're heading.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's awesome. Okay, so what are some of the big initiatives for Red Caffeine this year? Like, what are the big focuses for you?
Yeah, so AI as a service is definitely on the radar. We've been got a couple of accounts that we're, modeling some pilots with that will have a little bit more of the things that I'm talking about, the more visionary opportunities within their business functions and workflows. But because we work with privately held businesses and sort of generational businesses a lot, we are feeling sort of the momentum and an opportunity of the space. So there's a lot of organizations that are going to have transitioning leaders, and we've seen it. We've had a number of clients sell. We have a number of clients that have made acquisitions to expand their capabilities. And so we want to make sure that we're helping organizations with building valuation in their business if they're thinking about succession, and so we're doing a lot in kind of M&A readiness for organizations, and we think that's a huge opportunity for us. And then obviously just making an acquisition, so expanding the organizations that we work with, with that new acquisition asset, and helping to optimize the value of that acquisition is another area that we think is key for us
Yeah,
in the next few years.
I love that. That's so neat. And then, wait, is there an area that's like kind of like you're biting your fingernails or staying up late thinking about that you're like, oh man, this is like something that we really need to
You
figure
know,
this out.
we have a broad offering, so I feel like we pretty much have an opportunity to help a business no matter where they're struggling in their like growth journey, or they're, if they're thinking about succession and in that type of a journey. I think what we're seeing happen most is that some the access to the talent and the strategic thinking that we require for our uh, process, there's just limiting ability to have those type of resources available. So I have a little concern around constraints just by being able to attract those types of people to our organization. So I think that to me is a larger concern versus the market opportunity, because like I said, I think being a bit diversified in who we work with, and both, also having that optionality in our offering gives us a lot of levers to pull, that fit what the market demand looks like. Yeah, I think it's as everyone, starts to try and think about scale, is having the right people on the
Hmm.
team.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that one, especially with like we talked about the development of AI. Like, how do you find people that are aligned with that and have the strategic chops to, work on client facing work? I would imagine that's kind of a unique combination as well.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that is a unique requirement of working at Red Caffeine, is like you have to know your job, but you have to also be able to think about like business growth. And that's not all graphic designers, but I do think AI and tech enablement in the way that we're headed is going to be a new competency that's just going to be required across
Mm.
a lot of different disciplines within in an agency or a consultancy. So, I think we're all thinking about how are we going to get our workforce ready for it.
Yeah, I love that. So, and I mean, you're a very established company. Like, are you at this point, the majority of your clients are come to you basically by word of mouth, or are you doing any outbound efforts yourself or content creation? Like, what's Red Caffeine's strategy for client acquisition?
We do the same things that we do for our clients. We have a go to market or a grow to market strategy for Red Caffeine that's very similar to what we would do for clients. So it really is based on our positioning and what sort of market opportunities we see happening, and then creating, thought leadership. We do a lot of speaking engagements, sponsorships. We do spend a lot of time in the verticals that we play in. So, construction and manufacturing and professional services and the M&A community. So really having a presence in those associations. But, interestingly enough, we are doing, some paid and digital campaigns, but we're going to launch a old school tactic this year. We're gonna do a bulky mail campaign, and we haven't done this in a really long time, so we'll have to check back in a few months, and I'll let you know how that's tracked. But we have some ideas around trying to reach people and channels that we haven't used in a while, and so we're going to try something more on that direct mail. It will still have digital components to it, but it should be interesting to see how this goes over in
So you're talking like
comparisons
you're gonna be
to.
sending physical mail pieces to people?
We are, but bulky. So they're going to be really interesting and a bit creative. So I think, has been a tactic that's worked for a lot of our clients when they're doing a new product launch. Do you think this will help us have these more powerful conversations around growth and scale? And, if leaders are looking at, succession, that tends to be more of a one-on-one conversation with business advisors that you want to have. So we're going to use that direct mail channel
I love it.
to try and introduce some of those
I love it
conversations. Yeah.
so much. I
Well,
love
let's
it. I love
hope.
that you're
Let's
talking
hope.
about
Let's
it.
hope it works. It's been
Yeah,
a
well,
little bit
it's
of
the leveraging mail and AI is one of my favorite, services that we do in my agency.
really, really.
We leverage AI to get, like, really, really intimate insights of the company as well as the key figures that we want to send a mail piece to. And it's not as much like traditional, like, bulky mail where it's like where same product going out. It's more of a tailored approach to, like, your highest value clients that, like, would, big ticket clients because it's, a very, very tailored approach. But we build like a custom agent to scrape tons of information about the company and about the person and tailor a specific gift for them with a customized letter to generate meetings. And it's so fun. So I love that you're doing mail. This was great.
Yeah, and we do a very, like top prospect campaigns is very similar for us, but I love that you've crafted an agent. We've usually done that research so that it's really, you know, resonant and specific with these contexts that are on the list. And that's been highly successful for a lot of our client engagements as well. So yeah, so we will definitely have a lot of intel on the people that are on our prospect list, but we'll have to like talk offline about how you're deploying some of those
Yeah,
because
I'd
that's
love
pretty
to.
interesting. We'll have to share the learnings on how
Yeah,
you're
I
doing it and how we're
would
doing
love
it.
to do
It'd be
that.
good.
We could totally geek out about that.
I bet we could.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Kathy, this conversation has been amazing, and there's like so many different avenues that we could dive down and go even deeper on. Unfortunately, today we're out of time, but I'm like so sad because I feel like we're like just getting going. But it has been seriously such a pleasure having you on the show today, and I just want to thank you for bringing your expertise and your love for your clients and your ability to like listen in. I can tell that you like have a good ear for listening into the market and like moving where the flow is happening, which is a unique gift. So thank you again for coming. And so for people that want to get in touch with you, follow you, get in touch with Red Caffeine, how do they do so?
It's pretty easy. Our website is probably the easiest place, redcaffeine.com. I do spend a lot of time on social, mostly on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, my handle is Kathleen M Steele. So Steele with an E. And then we also have a live stream called Business as Unusual that you could find on our website as well. So, I invite people to connect with me. I am always willing to have a conversation with, anyone that's really interested in some of the things that we do or is just looking to talk about growth or challenges that they're having in their organization because it's not easy to do it alone. And I've had so many people help me through my career journey. So always willing to take that conversation too.
I love that. I love that. Well, guys, I'm going to put the links directly to her profile and her website and their show in the episode notes so that you can link directly out to that. And so I hope that you take advantage of that. And I love that I feel so similar that like this journey is hard enough. Like we need to support each other and the world is big enough and our offerings are different enough that I firmly believe in an abundance mindset of like, let's help each other.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes,
So I love that
100%.
you
It's
feel the same.
it's co-opetition. There's so much opportunity to collaborate. And Lisanne, I really appreciate you having me on today.
I love it. All right, my friends. Well, wherever you're listening, your car, kitchen, or Costco, your time is valuable. So for you to spend a few moments with us means the absolute world. So until next time on the Marketing Matrix.